Hey everyone, welcome to Marketing for Designers podcast. I'm your host, Masha Coyne, a messaging strategist and a copywriter for the interior design industry. I've been marketing for what feels like forever in my past career at some of the biggest global firms like KPMG and Deloitte. Today, I write website copy for designers using my signature voice of customer framework. If you're a designer looking to up your marketing game and attract premium clients, this podcast is for you. Each week on the show, we're going to be talking all things marketing, from branding to messaging to social media, SEO, and so much more. So you can have all the tools you need to grow your business and attract your dream clients. Welcome back to Marketing for Designers podcast. I'm your host, Masha Coyne, and I've invited a special guest to the show today. She's someone who shares my line of thinking on how to properly market your services to the clients you want to work with. I'm always talking about how it's important to really get to know your ideal clients and understand their pain points and desires so that your marketing messages resonate with the right people. And that's what my guest helps her clients with. Define their target audience and identify specific marketing strategies to attract them. I'd like to introduce you to Naomi Rose. Naomi is not just any business strategist and marketing expert. She actually calls herself your digital GP. I absolutely love that, by the way. With over 20 years of experience, she has the ability to see the bigger picture, finding solutions to the problems that are stopping business owners from growing their businesses in the way they want. Her API method shows entrepreneurs how to find the right clients for them using the right business and marketing strategies. Naomi believes that everyone should have a business that they're passionate about, and she's on a mission to help as many people as possible to achieve that goal. So welcome to the show, Naomi.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so great to be here.
Amazing. So, Naomi, you said something interesting in the intake questionnaire that kind of caught my attention. You said marketing doesn't have to be complicated. And I know this is for sure one of the struggles that so many interior designers, my audience, who believe that marketing is complicated. It requires a lot of time, a lot of investment. It requires, big teams and all that jazz. So I'd love to debunk that myth or maybe provide another way of thinking about marketing. But before we get into it, can you tell me about your approach to marketing? It sounds like you've developed a unique method to market your ideal audience.
I suppose in some ways, it's not necessarily unique. It's something that, as being in marketing, it's what I would naturally have always done. So the API method is a bit of a play on words because it's a digital process, but I call it audit, plan, and implement, and that's what it stands for. So it's starting with where you are and where you want to, where you are now, what's going on, what's happening, who are your people you're working with. And then it's putting the right plan in place for not just your clients, but for you. Because if you set yourself like a marketing plan that is going to take up too much time, you're never going to do it. And you're never going to feel that success, and it's going to overtake. So it's creating something that's smart and finding your clients in the right places, because it's so easy to just assume they're all on social media when actually they might not be. Not be at all. So again, it's thinking about who those people are and how we can reach them effectively. And then it's just about the implementation. And this is where we can sometimes feel it takes up so much time, is the actual creating all of that content, scheduling, or just doing it on the fly, which so many people do, because as a business owner, you've got about 20 hats, right? You wear all the hats. And actually, it's about finding the methods that work for you. That means that you can get stuff out there in the right way, that's easy, and without that stress all the time of feeling, I haven't posted on social media in 5 days, or I haven't sent an email, or, oh, I should have done that, or I've missed that opportunity, and then you start to panic about it all. So that's how I've created the API method, is understanding how people feel when they feel the pressures of marketing. And it doesn't have to be like that. It really doesn't. It's about just creating something simple and easy that works for you. And that's what's really key.
Amen to that. I love that it's so simple. I love what you said, that it's not really unique. It's just simple. Like, who doesn't love a simple plan? And I love that you're starting with auditing what you're currently doing. I think that makes a lot of sense, because only when you actually look at your marketing a little bit from the outside and see and kind of investigate, okay, what has been working, what hasn't been working, what has been generating leads, what hasn't been resonating, and looking at it objectively and then determining how to move forward with that. What exactly happens in the auditing stage of your framework when you work with clients?
It's very similar, but I mean, it's obviously all bespoke. So it's a bit of an exploration of what's going on. The same way that when designers work with clients, they will go in and they will start to draw out that information of what's kind of going on. What is it that they don't like mostly? What isn't working?
Mm-hmm.
What isn't working for them when they're thinking about the designs? What do people want to change? What would they like to do longer term? Where is it they want to be? So the audit isn't just about thinking about the marketing, it's thinking about the business goals, because your marketing's got to relate back to that. So hence why I kind of go a little bit deeper with it sometimes. But the audit process is thinking, is my marketing helping me reach my goals? Is what I'm doing helping me reach my goals? And that is the absolute first step you got to look at. And then it's just laying out on the table what you are doing, what you aren't doing, and really delving deep into exactly who your clients are. And I hear lots of different versions of how people work out who their clients are. Some people say you need to write 4,000 words on your ideal client. I don't think you do need to do that. But what you do need to do is understand them, understand their behaviors, understand their traits, and build a picture of them. And that's what that phase is for. It's for really getting to the bottom of exactly who are you wanting to work with. Because often we go down a route, particularly when we start out in businesses, of wanting to people please. And I know as creative and designers, we're all people pleasers at heart. So it's really about nailing exactly who you really want to help and serve. And then we can work out the right methods to get you there.
Mm-hmm. I like that. So how do we get to know our clients? And I totally understand that it all depends on what kind of business you're running, what kind of clients do you want to work with. But what would you suggest to interior designers that maybe they're working with clients that are not their ideal clients and they want to pivot, or they want to change the direction a bit and kind of attract maybe a different kind of client? Where would you recommend they start looking for those type of clients, and how do they get to know them if, let's say, they've never worked with them in the past?
Yeah, it's a really tricky one to try to work out, particularly when you're thinking, oh, these aren't the clients for me. And it happens in business. We outgrow our clients because we're growing as business owners all the time. And it's okay. It's okay to say these clients aren't the people I want to work with anymore. But what you have to say is then start with who you really don't want to work with. I outline who is it you don't want to work with, because once we start to outline who we don't work with, we can then think about who we actually do want to work with. Mm-hmm. And that suddenly changes our mindset. So often we think about all of the traits we're looking for without really thinking about who is it that we don't want to work with. What are they doing? And then it's almost like you have to create a character. So I call them a persona, but you want to create an identity for them. And I think when you have an identity in your head, and particularly I think when we're in creative industries, I think that helps put it into a bit more perspective of who the person actually is, what they look like. So I always say start with the demographics, and demographics aren't everything, but think about who they are. What kind of house they have? Do they have a family? Do they own pets? Are they married? What does effectively a day in a life look like for the ideal client? Where might they shop? Is it online, offline? What kind of brands are they attracted to? So, thinking about all of these little different things, all of these ideas of who that person is. So think about you. I always start with think about you. You're an ideal client for someone, and you have got all of these different things that you like, the things that you're attracted to, what catches your eye. Think about them, what triggers you to buy, what triggers you to go and pick a service. Then think about how that would look like for a client of yours, because likelihood is sometimes your clients are similar versions of yourself, but they might be different versions of you. They might be slightly different to you. So think about the kind of people you want to help. So think about what their problems are, what causes them pain, what can you help them with, and start to build up a picture from there. So I kind of have it's like a PowerPoint slide, like a slide deck, and I've got the name of the person, I have the service that I've got, And I've got different boxes of this person watches these, this person listens to this podcast, this person loves these brands, they are influenced by these people. And suddenly I've created this idea of who this person is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can start to think, well, where are they? What's they doing? Are they on social media? Are they more likely to open an email I sent them? What magazines do they read? And you start to then just unpick all of these little details about the clients. And then what I always recommend people do is pretend you are your client. Go and read those magazines, listen to that radio station, watch those TV shows, because you'll start to see what's attracting them to those things, what messaging is coming through, what colors they like, what triggers they have. And then you start to get an idea of who those people are. And then you can work out what the right marketing strategy is. And it's just about kind of forming that idea. And obviously, you can't be too rigid with your ideal client. So like I say, 4,000 words about your ideal client, you are going to get yourself to a point where you can't find the ideal person for you. But your ideal clients and the people that you want to work with will be a version of this person you've created. But because you've understood who they are, what they follow, what they like, what brands attract them, you can then create the right marketing messaging, the right marketing materials that make it so much easier. And that is what's really key. And I've always believed in customer first. And in my career, I've worked with some very technical, scientific people and who always think that, you should really know about this science stuff. I'm like, no, I have to write something back then in 140 characters for Twitter. I can't know what you know because I need to understand it from my customer point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the viewpoint I look at. So it's literally just like kind of breaking it down. And once you've got those ideas of who they are, you can start to then use social media to find out who these people are and find little nuggets of information and start to build that picture. So that's how I do it.
I love that. That's such a great idea. I love the idea of creating your personas. And obviously, interior designers that are listening to this podcast, they know of like a persona, or they call them avatars, or, ideal customer profile. There's so many names for that. And they've done that before because a lot of experts recommend starting there. I want to get your perspective on if your clients have a couple of audience types. If it's, let's say that's not one, they work with more kind of audience personas than one. Would you recommend creating like a couple of different profiles and making sure they're different, just so you can then create messaging that resonates with different kinds of people? And how many is too many?
Yeah, it's a great question. I often get asked that because sometimes we do end up with more. And when I owned a cafe, bar and bakery, and as you can imagine, it was one business across basically 3 different types of ideal client. And even within those, they were broken down into different types of people. What I really thought about was, again, think about that customer. Where are they? Where exactly are they? Because if you've got different types of personas and avatars and different types of clients, they might be on different channels. So you can use different marketing channels like social media or email and tailor your messaging specifically to those audiences. So don't assume everybody's on every single channel. And I will use the example of some of my clients in the cafe where mums, they brought in their families, they were children, and they were often on Facebook. Whereas I also had an older generation that were not online and were cash buyers. So I had to think, actually, I know the only way I'm going to reach them is probably through the local newspaper because that's what they're going to read. So it's really thinking about who the client is, what the messaging is that will appeal to them, and then you can work out the right channel and whether you need a couple of different profiles. But I would always say focus on one client and build a brand around that. I think that's really key. If you're diversifying yourself too much, you'll end up almost having 2 different businesses effectively, which you're then juggling more. So you're creating double the amount of marketing content. So think about what is most important to you and your business and how much time you realistically have, and focus on getting those one people, because you'll become known as that person that people will recommend because you can serve that particular type of client.
I agree with that 100%. And that's actually not the number one rule in the copywriting world. Think of that one particular client. And that's the trick that I use anytime I'm either, crafting marketing message or something for my website or something for my email. in my mind, I have this one ideal client and I happen to have worked with her. So I know exactly what she likes, what she doesn't like, kind of what her business likes. Um, I have obviously other customers. Like I work with designers who are just starting out, but I also work with designers who are a lot more seasoned and they have teams. But when it comes to marketing, I want to make sure I'm known for that one thing. So that's why when I'm crafting anything to do with marketing, I'm thinking in my mind I have this one particular person. And it's so funny if they found out that think I'm crazy that I'm crafting all the messages to them. But that's how it works because then you start to attract like-minded people, more clients like them. And that's what I want to do. That's why it works. That's a really great
Yeah,
point.
absolutely. And yeah.
Awesome. So how do let's say we've created this persona of your ideal client. How do we then make marketing simple? How do we design a simple and effective marketing plan? Take us through step by step. What would you do?
So I would think about what are the key messages I want to talk about. So what are the key things? What is it about me that people are going to want to buy from me? So I create themes around them. So it might be that you're known for a particular designing style, or you do some things in a certain way, or you're quite good at upcycling, and they could be the things that you kind of theme yourself. And one of those themes could be about you personally, because I think it's good for people to know who the person is behind the business. It's understanding who you are, because people buy from people that they like ultimately. So it's getting them to know who you are. So think about 3 or 4 maybe key themes and topics that you want to talk around, and then you start building out content from there. And but this also comes back to look at the channels that you want to use. And when I'm talking about channels, I'm talking about whether that's going to be advertising, marketing online, offline, social media, email, any of those different channels, your website. And then it's about thinking where are the top places that my clients are going to be, and concentrate on those. Don't do everything, because there are so many marketing channels out there. No one person can do anything. So if it's just you in your business and you wanting to know your marketing, start with one channel and get it really, really great. Just do that one. Focus on one thing. Then you can build out from there. As your business grows, you can then get the help you need to do more. And so start with one channel. And then I create like what I call the content plan, based off of that. So sometimes I will do like a blog post. So I have a website, I have a blog, but I create one blog post that can serve me for about 5 different bits of content that week. So I can break it down. So keeping it so dead simple, I've created one bit of content that I can then pull out and use across social media in different ways throughout that week. And I keep that consistent messaging going throughout that week. And what I also do is I call my hooks. So with a content calendar, if I was posting on social media, for instance, because that's one we're all most familiar with. So let's just talk about that one for a moment. I might create a week of content. So I know like every Thursday on my social media channels, I'll put out a top tip once a week. That's it. So this morning, I actually had my hair done. In half an hour, I created a year's worth of top tips. And so I can just schedule them all in. And that's what I did for 1 hour. I created just sat there, couldn't do anything else because my hair was in foils. I created that. And I've already scheduled it in till the end of August, because that's how long you can go for. So think about that. So it's creating stuff really simply. So use the weekdays as hooks. So Thursday is always top tips. And consistency is key. It's not about being constant, it's about consistent. So by being consistent, people know they're going to get a top tip on Thursday. So the algorithm in social media will help feed that. And it's the same with if you're doing email marketing or something else. Create structure to your week and your months. And then it's about just populating that. So that's how you can keep it really simple. So on Saturdays, I might do an inspirational quote. I post something every day. You don't have to, but I know that works for my audience. So post what's right for your audience, not what everybody else is doing. Again, create the plan that works for you. And just create simple hooks that you can work to, that gives you a framework that you can actually then easily populate. So it could be that Monday could be about design colors or something like that, or whatever it is that you want to talk about, or it could be about Tuesday hacks for creating a bigger space in your room, or whatever that might be. But just do 5 bits of content like for a week and just think about those different themes and put one of those themes in each week, and you could just sit down and batch a load of content and schedule it in. And that is really where it all starts. But the key bit that I think a lot of people don't necessarily do is they do like a lot of planning, or they not necessarily get to those part as far as planning because it feels so overwhelming. But they also then don't look at what's working and what isn't. But the only way you're really going to know is what's working is by doing stuff consistently over a period of time, which is why I create like a structure to my week that I can then review I review it every week, but to really get a good clear picture of what's working, you need probably a couple of months to 3 months. And then you can kind of go, actually, maybe these top tips aren't quite working in the same way. What is it about that isn't working? Maybe it's the image I'm using, or maybe I need to reframe the actual type of content I'm using, or maybe it's just the wrong bit of content for my audience. And then we can start to get information that we can get smarter about. And that's how I do it. So whenever I work with clients, I just kind of give them my framework, which is literally I do Monday motivation, Tuesday top tip, Wednesday wins. But again, I'm using the days of the week as a as a hook to remember what should go on each day. But it's about keeping it simple, and it's better to do something than to panic and do nothing.
I like that.
Just structure it simply that works for you, and people that show up and that do it and keep that consistency, that will pay off, and that's what's really important.
And using your days of the week as anchors. I like that. So one thing that I'd love to ask you is, most interior designers, what I see on my end, as far as their marketing, is they post their work. That's what feels the most comfortable. That's what feels the most natural to share kind of what's going on. Why share tips? Because I obviously I see a lot of designers post that kind of more like informational posts. This is why you do such and such. This is how we create it. From your perspective, why would designers post a bit of like a knowledgey, informational kind of content? Why not just their work?
It builds trust, because you almost, like you were talking to a friend. So imagine you were going into somebody's room and giving them a quick hack of how they can improve something. If they can see that result from that tip that you've given them, they'll go, oh wow, she really, or he really knows what they're talking about. Maybe I should think about working with them, because they clearly know what they're doing. And that way you start to build that know, like, and trust factor, which is so important, because you're giving useful information that will help people get to where they want to be. And by building that kind of rapport with people and then being able to go and do something themselves, they will start to keep you top of mind when they think, I need a designer for this room. And they were like, a top tip here and there can make a big difference, but they're not the expert. So again, it's like, as a baker, I've shared loads of recipes, but half the time people would come in and buy my bread,
right? Because
that's the easier win. They want convenience. They want to be able to get the best result, and they're not guaranteed to do it themselves.
And that's the tricky part. So again, I think people don't want to post how-to tips, because they're thinking that, well, then somebody can just go and do it on by themselves. But the thing is, your ideal client would probably want to know that you know what to do. You are the expert. By you sharing this information, they recognize that you know it so well, but they're not necessarily interested in implementing on their own. They're not necessarily a DIYer. They just want to know that you are the expert and you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they go away and do it themselves and don't buy from you, they're not your client.
They're not your.
Doesn't mean they can't follow you, because they'll probably still be your bigger advocates, because they'll still talk to people that are likely to be your ideal client. But those little nuggets of information just help people see that you really know what you are doing, and which clearly, people listening to the show know a lot more about designing than I ever would do. But by sharing a bit of those information, I can see, I understand how that works. It gives people that understanding, and knowing that they can think, I know exactly who to go to when I need to get design information. I need to work with someone. That's the person.
I like that. Naomi, you said something about the only way to know if it's working is by actually doing that. But then looking at the content you've put out over the course of weeks, months, and then evaluating whether it worked or didn't and making certain adjustments. What are you looking for in the content that you've posted that flags it to you that it's working or not working? Are we talking about like engagement rates, like click through opens, like all the technical stuff, or are you looking at something else? And how are you deciding what changes to make?
I think the thing with looking at data, and sometimes we get a bit obsessed with follower numbers. I see so many people saying, how do I grow a big following? It's like, I have seen so many people grow social media channels to hundreds of thousands of people, but yet no one buys their product. I see it so many times. It's not necessarily about the size. What we want to understand is the trends. So it's looking at, is the content actually reaching the people we really want to reach? So are we reaching the people? Are they engaging with it? So some different types of content, and this is for maybe when you're feeling a bit more comfortable with actually posting content regularly, is thinking about, am I engaging people? So are they liking my posts? Are they sharing it? What are they actually doing when they get there? Are they clicking through? And then it's also thinking about how much visibility the content is getting. So how far are they reaching? So different types of content can be created for different purposes. So when you kind of got a bit of a base foundation, have a look at those kind of stats of, are people clicking through to my website? Is there a kind of a link? What kind of engagement rate have I got, and how is that changing over time, and what's my reach? And so how far is it going? And really, it doesn't. I do my metric. I call metric Mondays. That's when I do my metrics. I literally sit down on a Monday morning, because on Mondays it takes us a little bit of time. Well, it certainly does me. Not everyone's the same, to get going. But I spend 10 minutes every Monday doing metrics. That's it. I don't need to do any more than that. And I just go through my channels. I have a look at how many open rates there are on my emails, what click-through rates, how many website views, and I get that understanding of exactly where my business is right in that moment. And I track that. And then over time, I can see the changes and how they're growing and changing. And I start to set myself targets off the back of that data. So I can then see how I can then grow that to where I want it to be. So sometimes, like I say, it's not always about follower numbers. It could be concentrate on I really want to build that engagement. So what posts will engage my audience? What content is really working? What are people looking at that's engaging with them? So you can pull those stats out. And once you've got that understanding, then you can kind of look at planning the next phase and what's growing there and what's really working. So some content might do really well on reach, but actually it's not getting you the click-throughs you want. So really think about what do you want each post to do? So just, what's the call to action? Where do you want your audience to go? What do you want your clients to feel, think, or do when they see that bit of content?
I like that you said something. So it's easier to get the reach. And looking at my own numbers, for example, on Instagram, I can see that I've got reach, but you don't always have the click through. Do you have any tips in terms of what should you have? Let's say it's an Instagram post. What tips do you have to reach that click through? Like, what's going to make your ideal clients actually click on your post and do whatever it is whatever that call to action is for you, whether it's schedule a call or just download something or just visit your profile, whatever that call to action is there a trick that you use to get a higher click-through rate?
So the way I do it, and obviously because Instagram takes away the links, apart from the link in bio. So often writing link in bio doesn't necessarily always work, because people are they get stuck on the scroll. So they might read your post, but they'll carry on scrolling. So you've got to think about the behavior and where they're viewing your content as well. So really think about that mobile first approach, because I guarantee the majority of clients might be looking at it from a mobile. What you want to then think about is, what action can they do there and then that gets them into your world? And I use things like, if this is you, comment with a heart emoji, or comment with the word, or drop me a DM with the word. I've got a free business growth strategy plan sort of thing. So I say, comment with the word success and I'll send you the link. So then what you can do is then see how many people are clicking on that link, and I can see it because they go into my email list. Or I can see how many people are actually then coming into my DMs, and I can get an idea of how engaging those posts are and where I'm driving the traffic. Because as soon as you start to bring people onto the comments, into your DMs, you can start to build that relationship there and then you start to build that lead, find out exactly what their problems are and then how you can help them and whether they're right for you. And then give them, like I say, give them something to do, sign up to your newsletter, get them into your world somehow, rather than just leave them hanging in the world of DMs. But yeah, comment with the world designer if you want to change up your room this autumn, or those kind of things of who wants to get this new look in their rooms. Again, you can be quite creative, just try different things. And it could be that you do something like, I'm looking for 3 people that are looking to redecorate their house by the end of the year. If this is you, comment with the world below. But probably unrealistic to redecorate a whole house. You can tell this is not my area of expertise. But again, just try different content, see what gets people engaged and what gets people commenting. And then you can just see where the click-throughs are going. So then you can start tracking from that point.
That's pretty cool, because my go-to has always been link in bio or link in stories. And I don't think I've experimented and tried anything new. I think I should do that. I'm definitely going to give it a try and kind of utilize the comments section a lot more, because you're right. It's in the DMs and comments. That's where the real engagement is happening. And you're creating that bond with your ideal clients. So definitely going to try that. Yeah. So thank you so much for the tip. Is there anything else that you mentioned something about optimizing people's online profiles? Is there like a top 3 things you absolutely need to do in order to have an effective online presence?
The kind of 3 rules I live by is clear, concise, consistent. So these are the 3 things I do. So optimizing and just to get rid of the jargon, it's the profile bit, which explains exactly who you are and what you do. So what you want to make sure that your clients see is who you are, who you serve, what you do, where they can buy from you. Give them the link to buy from you. Don't withhold them. Just tell them, work with me here. Show them exactly who you are, who you serve, and how they can get more from you. So give them that. So that is really what's key. I think also looking at it from the customer perspective, what language do they understand? So think about the language you're using and how that resonates with them. So, for instance, I used to have quite a convoluted description of what exactly I did. And then I realized that probably what I'm talking about, none of my ideal clients really understand, because I'm not thinking about their problems first. I'm not thinking about what they're looking for when they're looking to work with me. So again, just give them the absolute basics. And you don't have, particularly on Instagram and actually on Facebook, you don't really have much space to write much bio in your social profiles. But the key thing to also remember is that you want to put keywords that are relevant to your audience and what you do. So because they get picked up in SEO, and SEO is the search engine optimization. So when people search on Google, when they put in those words, it pulls up social media profiles as well now. So that is so important, not just on your website, but the other thing is then be consistent across all your channels. So any way you've got a public facing profile, have the same messages. It could be tweaked slightly if you've got slightly different audiences on each one, but have those key things in there, that who you are, what you do, who you serve, and where they can buy from you.
Love it. Very simple, very concise, and very clear, because a lot of times we're definitely not utilizing that really small but important real estate in your kind of above the fold or online profile. So thank you so much for the tip. Naomi, the one thing that I always ask my guests to share at the end of the podcast is, if you have one habit or practice that you've implemented in your life or in your business that has been truly game-changing, can you share yours?
Mine has to be scheduling. I'm a big fan of scheduling my marketing, as you could probably gather. But if that is one thing ticked off my list and I can get it all done in a day for like a month's worth of content, probably less than that, in half a day I'll get a month's worth of content done. I don't have to worry about it for a month. I can actually focus on the stuff I really want to do. So again, I mean, I love marketing anyway, so it's my zone of genius. But that is definitely my big tip. And what I will also say is, if your zonal genius really isn't marketing and you feel like you spend a lot of time trying to do it, you're probably costing your business money. So think about where your time is best invested. So if marketing is not your bag, you spend more time on it, someone else could probably do it in half the time and half the cost of what you're charging yourself to do that work. So get help. Just find someone that can maybe create some content for you on your behalf. There are lots of people out there that can do that stuff. So definitely plan, be organized is my way forward. It saves so much time and a lot less stress.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing shouldn't be stressful in my view.
I love that. Well, this has been so wonderful. And you've shared, I made a ton of notes and the things that I should be trying in my own business. And hopefully the interior designers that are listening did the same thing. Naomi, tell me, how do people find you if they want to just follow you, be friends, work with you, hire you? Tell me where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me. I'm pretty much literally everywhere because, as you can gather, I love a bit of social media and all of things marketing. So you can find me on Instagram and LinkedIn at I am Naomi C Rose, which stands for Claire. I'm on Facebook at Naomi Claire Rose, or you can go to my website. There's actually got a free masterclass on there for ideal clients. So if you really struggle with that, then definitely go and download that because it'll be super helpful, and it comes with a workbook, and that's at naomicrose.co. So go check it out.
Perfect. I hope people will do that, and I will make sure to include all of those links in the show notes.
Great.
Thanks so much, Naomi.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Marketing for Designers. This is Masha Cohen signing off. See you next week.